Okie dokie, welcome back to That's Just My Opinion. I am Merlin, and today we will continue on with Rhythm of War Part 2. So, here we go. For this one, we've got our point of views is we have Kaladin, we have Shallan, we have Adolin, Venli, and Navani as our POV characters. So, we pick up pretty quickly in part 2, right where we left off with part 1. Everybody is in Irithiru, kind of chilling out for a minute. We've got Shallan, who's getting ready to go on her big diplomatic mission with Adolin to the Honor Spren to talk to them and try to convince them to come help humanity. We'll see how good that goes. She also has issues of trying to figure out who is the spy in her midst, because there's somebody from the Ghostbloods who's spying on her. Also, I don't think I talked about this in the last video. We found out what the Ghostbloods want to do, and it is about power, it is about money, but it's they want to get Stormlight off world and sell it to other worlds in the Cosmere, but they're running into some transportation problems. So kind of interesting with that, and I'm curious to see what happens with the Ghostbloods, because they're kind of our wild card group in all of this. So we've got Shallan dealing with that, getting ready for her mission. We got Adolin, who's going to go with her because he's the golden boy. I love Adolin. And you have Kaladin, who is stepping into retirement and is just going to be a surgeon with his dad from now on. I have thoughts on Liren. I will get into those at the end of this. So for right now, the parties end up splitting. Adolin and Shallan go take off to Shadesmare to, do their thing, which there's a point when Adolin is leaving. He and Dalinar have a conversation, and let's just say there's some friction. There's some friction there now. Not all inherently because Dalinar wrote Oathbringer and everyone knows the truth about what happened to Evie now, but just because of Dalinar seeing Adolin as this perfect little soldier. And my word to dads in the Stormlight series: accept your children for who they are, damn it. So yeah, they take off to Shadesmare. Adolin is super excited because he gets to see Maya, and I hope that he's able to kind of revive her. It'd be kind of interesting because also she's a cultivation spren, so that would make Adolin an edge dancer, which would be really interesting. I don't know what's going to happen with her, or if she'll become this new kind of spren because she was a Deadeye, but we'll wait and see on that. So they go off to Shadesmare, and it's a lot of them traveling. It's a lot of just traveling and trying to figure out who the spy is. It's some good stuff between Adolin and Shallan dealing with her issues, and Formless is kind of getting stronger. It hasn't manifested as a full personality yet, but it could happen. Also, while they're in, I'm just going to talk about the Shadesmare trip real quick, and then I will jump back over to what's happening in the real world. So, in Shadesmare, they travel, they see some other spren, which are kind of cool. Shallan is trying to figure out who's the spy, and she ends up figuring out that it's her newest recruit, which, makes sense, it's the newest recruit, blah, blah, blah. But then they're like, no, I don't think this is really the right one, and I'll get into what happens with that in a minute. And while they're traveling, they're getting closer to Lasting Integrity, which is the Honor Spren stronghold. And Adolin is going, man, I don't think this is going to work. I don't think we're going to be able to convince them with any arguments that we have. We kind of need another plan. And while they're traveling, they run into Nodum, who was a Honor Spren that they met in the last book, who helped them out and has actually been exiled from Lasting Integrity. Yeah, they were not happy about the fact that he let Syl go in Oathbringer, so they end up kind of tagging along with him for a little while, and Adolin ends up saving his butt from these weird humans who try to kill him. Not sure where that's going yet, but they end up saving Nodum. They end up going towards Lasting Integrity, and right before they get there, Shallan, she's got this little communication device to get in contact with Mraize, which she's starting to remember some things from her childhood. Uh, but she realizes that there's only one person, it's been moved, and there's only one person that could have done it. It was Pattern. Okay, now, before we jump to the conclusion that Pattern is the spy and Pattern is betraying her, I don't think he is. Because if Pattern is using the communication device, one, we don't know for 100% certainty that he's talking to Maraise because he did talk to Wit right before they left, and Wit is Hoid, and yeah, he's Hoid, so maybe he knows how to use this communication device, and Pattern is actually talking to him or someone else. Or if Pattern is talking to Maraise, I don't think he's doing it to hurt Shallan. If anything, he's trying to help her. I do believe Pattern genuinely cares about Shallan, so I don't think he would be betraying her. Not in a malicious way. I think he'd be trying to help her. So I think there's probably two spies, that there is like the new chick might be the spy or somebody else is also the spy, and Pattern just is also happening to be using this communication device. So anyway, they go to Lasting Integrity. Some Honorsbrand come out, and Adolin gives them the letters, and they rip it up and just, no, we will not listen to your arguments, blah blah blah. So Adolin's like, fine, put me on trial. Prove that we don't deserve your trust. Prove, where's your honor, pretty much. That's a good way to take off an honor spren. And so they're like, you would go on trial for your ancestors? He's like, no, 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 no. No, no, no. I will not be on trial for what they did, but for myself, for the current Kholin people and the people of the world. We are on trial. Not them, we. So, important distinction there, because he's got a chance if he puts himself on trial. But yeah, he'd be totally screwed if he tried to defend the Recreants, because that was all kinds of bad. So that's where the Shadesmare crew ends. They are entering Lasting Integrity, and we don't know because they're not in part 3. They're on hold till part 4, and it's killing me. All right, so jumping back over to the Urithiru side of things, they've decided that they have to go to war in Aesir, so they're making a plan for that, and basically Dalinar, Yasna, and the entire coalition armies all leave and take off to go fight this battle, leaving Urithiru with minimal supports, minimal army and protection, and Navani is staying behind because they need some Kholin staying at Urithiru. So Kaladin is being a surgeon. He's also decided to start helping people with mental illnesses, especially those with suffering from depression, like he has, because you see the conditions that the Ardents are keeping people with mental health issues in, and it is not good. Very bad. So Kaladin's trying to start doing that, start working through the psychology and trying to help these other men. So he's doing that. Liren's like, yeah, good job, son. We should actually be looking into this. And Kaladin, he kind of has this thing where he he includes himself among these men, that he's like, yeah, I know it. And Liren's like, no, you shouldn't include yourself among them. And I'm like, Liren, you really don't understand what Kaladin has been through and is currently going through. He does suffer from depression. He does suffer from PTSD and anxiety and all of these other things. He is one of these men. You just don't want to see that. Sorry, Liren really ticks me off at the end of this part. So Kaladin's doing that, and it looks like he's making some progress. As far as Navani goes, she's still getting contacted from the mysterious gemstone person, which they find out it's somebody in the tower. Not only is it somebody in the tower, it's a spren. So who could it be? Well, Navani sets up a trap to capture who it is, who's leaving her this jewel, and it turns out it's David, one of the Bridge 4 members, who he suffered from some serious battle shock, which is basically PTSD, that he's completely mute. And he gets caught leaving Navani another gemstone, and she ends up clicking it on and starts writing just frantically like, they're coming, you have to help me. Because guess what? Venli and Raboniel are attacking Urithiru. They end up breaking into the tower because the defenses are down, and now it is a crazy race to try to stop them. So Raboniel's plan is to break into the crystal pillar room, which is the heart of Irithiru, and corrupt it. And because they think the sibling is dead or asleep. Well, you find out from who Navani's talking to, that is actually the sibling. That is the Spren of the tower. They're alive. And now they are kind of freaking out like, she's coming, she's coming, she's going to kill me. You have to activate this defense system, but I don't want you to. The sibling has some serious trust issues when it comes to humans with the whole breaking of their vows things and everything. But she ends up telling Navani where this defense mechanism is. They activate it, and the sibling does getting a little bit corrupted. They don't stop Raboniel entirely, which she flips the defenses of Irithiru, so now it only affects Radiance and not Fused. So the Radiants all drop like rocks at everybody but Kaladin. Yes, and it has to do with the fact that Kaladin is really close to swearing the fourth ideal. He hasn't sworn it yet, but he's like this close to it, so he's still able to be functioning. And he ends up going back to his parents. He's got Teft with him because Teft is totally out cold, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. They end up not being able to defend the tower. Obviously, they don't have their Radiance, and there's no military force, so they end up losing the tower to the Fused. We get a little bit of the time directly after, like the next day. Kaladin has decided, with Liren's persuasion, to keep his head down, to, not cause any trouble. He's, trying to do his thing, trying to help civilians where he can. But, of course, the Fused start coming around looking for Radiants that have passed out, and they come and they try to get Teft. And, well, Kaladin's not going to let them take Teft, and he ends up getting into a fight, and he kills a storm form in Liren's clinic, and Liren freaks out and is just like, you're a killer, everything you've done is horrible, you should just be a good little surgeon and just keep your head down, you didn't know that they were going to kill him. And I'm like, Liren, you didn't know they were going to spare Teft either. Also, what did you think was going to happen when they found out that Kaladin was awake? He's Kaladin's Stormblessed. Best case scenario is they lock him up. More likely, they'll just execute him because he's a Radiant who's awake, and he also gives the people a rallying point, somebody to stand behind. Yeah, sorry, Liren just really ticked me off at the end of this, how he's like, we'll just keep our heads down and we'll just be okay. And I'm like, what do you think is going to happen? I don't know what Liren thinks is going to happen at this point. Like, the Fused are going to become your benevolent overlords? Like, what? Sorry, Liren just really pissed me off at the end of this, and Kaladin takes off with Teft to start basically a minor resistance. Also, the Pursuer is here, so extra bonus points for why Kaladin would totally be killed if he was handed over to them. And then as far as interludes go for this one, we get 3. We get Vyre, aka Moash, still hate him. And it's kind of, you get inside his head, and it's really crazy because Odium just sucks away all of basically his emotions, and when he's not actively doing something, he just spends his day working, and Kholinar just cutting rocks with the honor blade and just there you go. And Odium ends up coming to him and is like, well, since I didn't get my actual champion that I wanted, why don't we go for 2 and we get Kaladin on my side? Because Vyre is also, Kaladin's the one spot that still is he needs to corrupt Kaladin. He needs to prove that his way is right, and then he will be able to give all of his emotions to Odium. So their idea here is to push Kaladin to the brink and get him to jump. One, you're trying to get a Windrunner to jump. He might just fly. And my other thing with this is, Odium has tried this already. He tried this with Dalinar. He tried to break Dalinar, and it only made Dalinar stronger. I'm like, so we're gonna go 2 for 2 on this one, which right now my theory is going to be at some point Moash and Kaladin are going to have a face-off where Moash is pushing Kaladin to the brink, and he's gonna get to that edge again. But instead of falling, he's going to swear the fourth ideal. That this is going to be the drop kick into the fourth ideal that Kaladin has been waiting for, because in the book so far, Kaladin has said he's never going to swear the fourth ideal. I don't think that's going to happen, because my theory on what his fourth ideal is acknowledging that he can't save everyone. Because if you know Kaladin, he's kind of got issues with trying to save everyone. But I think something's going to happen with Moash where he's going to see Moash as unredeemable, and he can't save him no matter what he does. And that's going to push Kaladin into the fourth ideal, I think, right now. Don't know. We'll see. After that, we get Lift as a point of view, which also, she doesn't go down when the Radiants get boinked in Irathiru. So she's still awake, and we find out some interesting stuff about her, that her boon from cultivation made her different. Like, she's not a normal Radiant, so interesting. And she ends up seeing 2 chickens fight. One of those chickens is Ghostblood. God, his name just totally escaped me. Mraize. Wow, totally blanked on that. That Mraize's chicken fights this other chicken. Lift saves the chicken that lost, which wasn't Mraize, takes it down to its master, who's been killed, and Mraize is there, and Mraize is like, oh, it's you. I've been looking forward to hunting you, and then Lift just books it. So, yeah, Mraize is hunting Lift. She's somewhere in the tower. I hope our little girl is sneaky enough to keep away from him. So, yeah, it's, poor Lift. And yeah, Mraize is psycho. Then lastly, we get Taravangian, who is waiting to betray everybody because that's what he does. But he gets some interesting philosophies on like his boon and his curse, and that when he's at his most brilliant, he has no compassion, yet when he's at his most idiotic, he has the most compassion. And he's like, is that what the boon and the curse is that I can be extremely intelligent, but I can't feel compassion at the same time? Like, he can't be intelligent and compassionate at the same time. Anyway, Odium pops up for a little chat, and Taravangian he ends up actually being able to goad Odium into showing off his plans. And he sees like this chunk of blackness that is like creeping into his plans, and it's Renarin. Renarin is screwing with Odium's plans. So Taravangian, by the end of his conversation with Odium, has come to the decision that maybe he's going to try to work against Odium, that he's going to try to outwit a god, or try to help humanity in some way. We'll see how that goes. Don't know yet. But I think Taravangian might be our redeemed character for this book series. I don't know. I still don't like him, but now I'm kind of rooting for him if he's got a way to like maybe work against Odium. So that's where we're at with part 2. It's fantastic. I'm just loving it. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with the occupation in the tower and Ruboniel and what's happening in Shadesmare, which I won't find out about till part 4, which sucks, but hey, that's just how the book is written. So, part 2, I give it a 4.5 out of 5. It's fantastic. But hey, that's just my opinion. If you disagree with me, that's totally cool. If you have something you'd like to see me take a crack at in the future, leave your comments down below, and I will talk to you guys in a little while.